What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Next Guy Up podcast on a Friday. We have got a very exciting, brand new episode coming at you. We are kicking off our All-Weather Fans interview series.
You might even call it special, maybe.
No, not a special episode. Exciting, new. I'm fresh. I'm not gonna say special anymore. Won't be me. But before we get into our interview, we're going to chop it up here a little bit. We've got some news around college basketball, the NBA, a little bit of NFL stuff going on as well. We will be keeping these Friday episodes as a recap of what's going on, if anything big and exciting is going on in the sports world, before we dive into these really fun interviews. And I'm glad that we got our first guest, none other than our super mega fan, Robert Durham. So make sure you stick around for the second half of the episode to hear all things UT with Robert. He has got some He's got some fun stories. Definitely just a fun, I enjoy watching UT games with Robert. It is a thrill. It is a roller coaster of emotions. So he talks about that during the pod. So it makes it fun. Yeah. Shout out to him for being our first guest and all that. But without further ado, boys, how we doing? We've had an exciting week. Exciting week of betting basketball in all its forms.
Have been doing a good bit of basketball. College basketball, I feel like college basketball kind of peaks right around this time. Like post Super Bowl is when college basketball really is like this is go time. You know, this is come showtime then, and then we have March Madness coming up in like 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah,
like the season is rapidly coming to an end, and there's a lot of storylines floating around. Tennessee still right in the mix after a couple of up and down games we've had the last couple, but here we are, projected as a 2 seed right now with a gauntlet of a schedule coming ahead. So do you want an update on the system?
Yeah, let's talk about the system for a minute. The system. If you've been around, you know that Zach came up with this system. We've been betting it. You take home underdogs, right? Home underdogs against ranked teams.
Correct.
We've been taking money line. We had kind of talked about doing spread there for a little while. We said bump that. Let's go bigger, go home. Yeah. As of Wednesday night's recording, the system is getting beat up just a little bit right in this moment. But hey, there's still plenty of basketball left to be played. But I feel like we're in the green because it normally does just take a few winners per day. With these guys being plus money for the most part, every once in a while you'll catch a team that's like the favorite at home favorite against a ranked team. That's a pretty normal betting system that's been going on for a long time. But the underdogs, I mean, there's been upsets. I feel like more noticeably this year in college basketball that home court's really been such a big thing, and we're seeing a lot more of these upsets where we don't have as many of these basketball teams that are just coming into people's stadiums and running them out of their own building. It's been pretty, home court has been very big, especially in the SEC. I know we kind of lean more towards it just because it's what's on. But I know Zach shared a stat just a couple weeks ago about the SEC's home court advantage being just crazy.
Yeah, I've heard a couple. I think a lot of the national media has kind of taken up this same thing. It's become a talking point about. And I mean, it's not like a secret that it's been happening all season, but I've heard more and more big media personalities and things talking about this whole thing of ranked teams going on the road and losing against unranked teams, which traditionally would have been a huge upset, would have been a big deal. But this season, it feels like it's happening to literally across the board, like everyone. We saw Purdue take a pretty big loss. We saw UConn take a pretty big loss last night, or is it 2 nights ago? It was last night.
Last night, yeah. They lost by a lot.
Well, so, yeah, that was Tuesday night. And
Tuesday
so
night, yeah.
we've seen, I mean, top teams like UConn, Purdue, a lot of people think are the two best teams in the nation. Both have taken losses this week against unranked teams on the road. And so here we are. And it's happening more and more. And so the way the system has worked, and we only have a couple weeks left in it, is that, like Ten said, I heard a stat that said that like top 10 teams or ranked teams on the road against unranked teams are almost like 50, like almost like 500 on the season, which is crazy because they're almost always plus money games. And so if you just hit half of them, you're making a decent bit of money in a lot of times, because sometimes it's been plus 300, plus 400 games.
Yeah.
And you are like that. I think it was the Purdue Ohio State game was like plus 400.
310. It was 310.
Yeah, 310. There you go. So you make a pretty big profit on the wins. The losses, you're going to take them, but that's why it's called the system. You know, it's all going to balance out in the end. And I think we are up. I mean, we felt that. I think we felt that it's been around 50-50. And because of the extra juice on the wins, you see that you're up pretty good, actually. So,
yeah,
pretty fun.
How much do those upsets sway your like national championship like confidence? Because UConn is at plus 500 to win the championship. Purdue's plus 700. You were both talking about both of those taking a big loss. Does that worry you at all? Them both being two of the favorites and getting upset like that?
Well, here's the thing: tournament is not played on the road. Tournament is played on neutral court. Well, a lot of people have kind of talked about some reasons for that happening this year. People are saying that maybe it's more balanced than ever. Even your trash teams have good players and can compete. Personally, I think the main reason for this is that as people have realized this more and more, that the home court advantage for the away teams is getting ratcheted up pretty hardcore. That I think we've seen that where before, like Duke, North Carolina, Gonzaga, some of those places that have been crazy all the time are going to be crazy always. People are like, oh, it doesn't take that many people to make a basketball arena really loud. It really doesn't take that much to make a small arena loud. And so they come and they do it, make it a really, especially, I feel like I have not run the numbers on this, but I feel like the midweek games we have done much better on than like the Saturday games.
Yeah.
I think it's those midweek where you travel and then it's like a weird schedule against a team you're probably undervaluing because you're on the road. That's been the games that have been most ripe for those upsets. Where Saturdays, I feel like we come out losing more than we win usually, because those a lot of times it feels like more like a regular game. But I feel like those midweek games are the ones that we've been hitting pretty consistent. So pretty interesting though. It is. I mean, but the tournament, even coming into the SEC tournament or conference tournaments, and then the actual March Madness tournament are all. You might have a lot of fans there, but it's never going to be a true road environment. Yeah. And so you do feel like some of those teams are going to rise to the top. They might have struggled on a road court at some point in the season.
Well, while we're here, is there any that you're more confident about going into the March Madness since it's just a couple weeks away? Well, I know Tens has a favorite.
Yeah, and I'll get into the Kentucky story here after I talk about who I'm liking for college basketball, but I am on UConn quite heavily. I just feel like they are a carbon copy of the team they had last year. They were, and about this time last year, they had a couple in conference losses, and then just turned it on. They turned into a buzzsaw. They were blowing everybody out. I mean, they covered every spread for the whole tournament. So they're a very good team. I like them. And then there's a team that I kind of, and I don't know why, but as like a long shot, I like Wisconsin. Plus about 5,000. Wow. A lot of upperclassmen. They were playing really good basketball, and then they went on this 4-game losing streak. But sometimes that can be kind of like the wake-up call you need. They've got two big guys that can play offense and defense. They've got pretty good guard play and a good coach. So I think Wisconsin is like a sleeper team I'm looking at as far as like long shots go. But right, if I had to pick someone right now, it's UConn versus the field for me.
Yeah, I was looking at the championship odds as well, and there's actually 3 SEC teams in the top 8
Yeah,
highest,
all right near each other too.
which yeah, they're rated currently at like 5, 6, and 8 in terms of the order that they're projected to like have the best odds. Tennessee at plus 1,300, Auburn at plus 1,800, and Bama at plus 2,000. And so that's pretty interesting to see Auburn up there. I think Auburn's played really well at home this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, all 3 of those teams are, though. There's a couple huge games, though. Auburn's coming to Tennessee here in the next couple weeks, and then Tennessee's going to Alabama for a huge game.
That's pretty much
so
the.
Yeah,
that's
it
pretty
could
much
be
the SEC championship, like regular season champion, right?
Bama's up by 1 game right now.
Okay.
But if Tennessee beats them at home, then they will have the tiebreaker if we win out. So, I mean, Tennessee for sure holds their own destiny still. Tens, did you see that?
Yeah.
This is a live system update, everybody.
What just happened?
I was looking at my DraftKings. Yeah, there was 2 seconds left.
Illinois fouled on a 3-point.
This is live.
Wow.
Oh no! Are you serious?
Yeah, Penn State won on
Penn
free
State
throws.
hit 3 free throws
to win the game. Let's go.
So if you ever doubted the system, we were just talking about how it was going to be a rough night, and here we are. Penn State comes from the depths, plus 270. Shout out! Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
There we go, Penn State.
All right. Yeah, we needed that one, boys.
We did.
All right, feel good. Sorry for that update. That's big. I was looking at my DraftKings account, and then I just saw the number go up, and I was like, "Oh, something happened."
I had the game cast going right here.
That's a good one. Okay, so,
SEC,
yeah,
Tennessee,
SEC
Alabama.
championship. Yeah, so there's a lot going on. The SEC right now, a lot of conferences already have kind of some things locked up, like UConn. Yeah. It's basically in a league of their own right now in the Big East.
Purdue, it's a Big Ten.
Purdue, Big Ten is kind of garbage except for Purdue at the top. And so we are looking at a situation where, I mean, really there could still be 3 or 4 teams win the SEC at this point, which is pretty exciting. There's some huge games. Kentucky also comes to Thompson Bowling Arena at the end of the season. So we got a lot of stuff happening. Yeah, I'm really excited about the tournament. I think that Tennessee once again has a shot to make a pretty deep run. Will they? I don't know.
This feels like our
but I did see the odds. I did see the odds of UConn making the Final Four. It was like plus 100.
Yeah, I know.
Which feels kind of crazy.
Yeah,
that feels crazy for a tournament like March Madness,
where
anything can happen. Plus 100 feels nuts to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's even when they were on their run last year. They weren't this heavily favored this time last year, so I don't love that. But I feel like they're the best team. I felt like it so much that when I got a free bet from Bet360, so as we know, we talked about it for the Super Bowl. Me and Mason went to Kentucky. We got a bunch of free bets, used them for the Super Bowl. It was a profitable trip. Well, we got $50 more after the Super Bowl. Well, we live about an hour away from the state line. And so Sunday, after we recorded, I came out, which this was very early. It was about 8:30, and everyone in my house was asleep. I said, well, what else am I going to do? So I went to Taco Bell, sat there, contemplated if I was really going to do this or not. And I drove an hour one way to let me get the town real quick. It's still on my phone. No, it's not. Okay. Oh, Vernon, Kentucky.
Heyo.
Shout out.
I drove through a little town. If you're in the Cookeville area, Livingston. It literally looked like a carbon copy of Livingston. Drove through that. Then that made me cross the line. and then I pulled into a Dollar General parking lot and placed my bets. If you want to know the bets, put them on TikTok. But the Yukon national champion is the most important leg because that's the first leg in this parlay. So I am riding pretty heavy on Yukon. I've got a couple other futures tied to them as well, from like a Chiefs Super Bowl future. So yeah, I mean, what can go wrong? It's the same thing I did last year with the Boston Bruins, where I could have gotten rich if one more step hit. So
dang,
let's let history repeat itself.
That would be
What time?
awesome. Yeah.
What time did you get back?
I got back a little before midnight, so it really wasn't.
That's fine.
It was either go back to my house with my Taco Bell and play Power Worlds until midnight, or drive to Kentucky. So which, like I said in our text, I said, which way do I want to waste 3 hours of my life? A possible way of winning $3,000 or
bingo
playing Power World. So I chose the $3,000 option.
Mine also expired the next morning, so I had Tinsley.
No, you rode with me. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
He rode with me, everybody.
Sure did.
They're both there.
Bet 360 if you're listening.
365.
Whatever.
365.
No one cares about these guys. So yeah, that was my fun little adventure on Sunday. It was weird. It was definitely, I could hear like banjos playing type feels, like I was in the middle of nowhere for a long time.
Like roads in Kentucky are kind of sketchy.
Yeah. Well, on my way back, and I don't know if maybe they're having car trouble or what, but I was coming down the hill around a curve, and I could see headlights. I was like, well, that's weird. And someone's car was parked horizontally, blocking the lane. And I just went around them, hit the turbo mode, the sport mode in the Kia, and I drove very fast. I was like, oh, great. I'm going to get captured in Kentucky. My wife's going to be so mad that I did this. She's going to have to pay a ransom for me. Because, I mean, I was in the middle of nowhere, no service. Luckily, I had downloaded a couple podcasts to listen to on the way up. Shout out, next guy up. Shout out.
Just re-listening.
We're here to help.
Heyo.
So
free pub.
No free pub, but free pub. If they're listening, shout us out too.
Give us shout us. Yeah. Okay, so I've got a little trivia for us to keep us in the sport mood. Keep us fresh. We're gonna tag team this between the two of you. Nah, I'm gonna make you take turns until somebody can't think of one.
Oh, great.
So this involves all of the big four sports, which is why this is going to get a little funky, maybe. Mason, I don't know how do you feel about the world of NHL?
I've paid attention to it more here recently. There's a
couple difficult ones here. So here's the prompt. There are 10 teams in the big four that have a color as part of their mascot or part of their name, a color. Okay, so 10 start first. We got 10.
We're going to go with the Green Bay Packers.
Okay, that one doesn't count because Green Bay is where they're from. It's only the mascot. I knew someone was going to say
the
that.
The mascot or the team name?
The team name.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Blue Jackets.
Ooh, that was the hardest one. Okay, very good, Tins. The Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yep.
Nice.
From our National Hockey League. I think that was the hardest one, to be honest. So, Mason?
I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns.
Very good. Cleveland Browns. Tins?
I'm going to go with the... This is hard. The color is the team name.
It's just in it. Like Blue Jackets is good.
Okay.
Browns is good. It just has to be the color somewhere in it.
That's not that. The Reds, Cincinnati Reds.
Dang, that was mine.
That is true.
The White Sox.
The White Sox. True. Chicago White Sox.
Boston Red Sox.
Boston Red Sox. Okay, we're 5 down. Halfway.
Let's see. Is there any other NFL teams? Because I'm going to NFL. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No NFL teams.
Can you think of any more 10s? It landed on me to
There's
end,
a couple of baseball, a couple of hockey. There are no NBA.
I didn't think so.
I can think of a couple more baseball, I think.
Let's hear it. I give up.
The Kansas City Royals, because they're royal blue. Maybe does that count? No.
Nope.
I'm trying to do some counting. There are 2. No, there's only most of them are NHL actually. Now that I'm looking at it,
The NHL, yeah.
1,
No,
2, 3. Oh, it's 4 NHL teams and 1 baseball team.
I can't even think.
What colors in the NHL?
The Blackhawks.
Wait a minute.
That doesn't count.
The Blackhawks is 1. Blackhawks, yep.
Well, that was the first one I said, but then I thought that's not.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it has to have the color in it. Yeah.
Okay. Blackhawks.
4 more.
Detroit's team. Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah.
Yep. The Red Wings.
Red Wings.
Good. 3 more. There's still 1 baseball, and then there's
no. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out as well.
Okay, baseball. Toronto Blue Jays.
We should have known that.
Hockey. St. Louis Blues.
Yep.
They're the St. Louis Blues, and then the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Oh, that one feels cheap.
Boo.
They're golden. That's the 10. Pretty tricky.
Like that was tough. I like that though. I like a good hard trivia.
Good trivia there.
Good. Okay. So do we have anything else before we want to intro our guest and kind of talk about what we're going to be doing?
Nope. Mason, you didn't have that thing? Or
if we want to go through it real quick, I had some like the betting odds, some of the go through what is like predicted by Vegas and some of the sports books out there.
Okay.
So a lot of the focus has been on Justin Fields and what he's going to be doing with him unfollowing the Bears and Instagram. That kind of was like a main headline for this week. So I looked up so we don't have it in Tennessee, but a lot of the sports books odds for Justin Fields to go to a different team. Do you want to take a guess, Tins or Zach?
Like the odd, I think it's like the Falcons and Steelers are both around like under 200, right?
So Falcons are minus 130 right now.
Yeah.
And the Steelers are plus 350.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Falcons, he's from Atlanta.
Yeah. Another team rumored, or another quarterback rumored to go to the Steelers is Russell Wilson. He's a favorite at minus 220 or 250. You guys want to guess the teams that are favored for Derrick Henry?
The Ravens.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. I would hate to see him on the Ravens. That would be the perfect system, though. I feel
Get ready, buddy. He's going to be wearing purple.
Ravens, Cowboys, and Eagles, but Ravens are the huge favorite at plus 175, Cowboys plus 550, Eagles at plus 650. Last player that I wanted to go over was Kirk Cousins. You know what his favorite is?
Patriots.
Surprisingly, to run it back with the Vikings at minus 200, Falcons plus
Unfinished
300.
business, baby.
Unfinished business. Super Bowl, baby.
Get your tickets in now.
Patriots at plus 800, Steelers at plus 1,000. So apparently, so why I'm bringing this up is, why are you telling us this? The books know more than any of us will ever know. And what has stood out to me the most was back when LeBron James when he decided to, right before he went to the Lakers, huge odds came in on LeBron favored with LA. Well, it broke later that the sports books, all the like news came out that they were looking at schools for their kids. No one knew about this except for them, and they got the news first. So it makes sense where the money goes. It all goes, all the news and all the breaking stuff usually goes to them first. There's even rumors about like news breaking, like with Adam Schefter and stuff. The books get that first before it gets released. Those are just rumors, but I'm just saying a lot of that stuff is because they need to know so that they always have the upper hand when it comes to this stuff. So just interesting stuff there. But yeah, that was my NFL segment for the week.
Love it.
Love it.
I want Justin Fields on the Falcons badly.
Badly, he says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like you were kind of a huge Falcons fan, or not like a fan, but you were kind of like rooting for him a little bit last
year. I thought if they could get a quarterback, they could really like make a step, be a good value as far as getting, because that division is going to be plus money because no one really knows what's going to happen. So there'll be a team come Future Friday time that the Falcons will be talked about for sure.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Uh-oh. That's a little preview.
Teaser.
A little teaser for the boys and girls at home.
All right. So we are just about to pass it to ourselves from the past, actually. We kind of had the idea for this segment. We're calling it the All-Weather Fans segment. And we had this idea where we wanted to interview people who we felt like were hardcore fans of teams. And we called it All Weather Fans as kind of a play on words for the fair weather fans that some people would say, so-and-so is a fair weather fan. You know, they only really watch games when their team's good or whenever they're competing for championships. And we all know what it's like to root for teams that are very bad in the dumps. And so we appreciate fans who stick through tough seasons and through bad quarterbacks and bad coaches and Urban Meyer and people like that. So we have kind of set up to interview some people that we know. And so this very first interview is with my dad. He is a hardcore Tennessee football fan. It's where I get it from. It's a really good conversation that we had with him. So we hope you enjoy it. If you feel like you fit this category and you would be a good interview, let us know because we'd love to interview. We want to hear from our fans, people who listen. We want to give you a chance to talk about your favorite teams and things you love about them, things you hate about them, things that made you disappointed. And so all across, you're going to hear it in our interview. So if you think that's you, let us know. We'd love to interview you. But for now, we are going to pass it to ourselves. All right. And we are here in the very first episode of this is our first iteration of this fan interview series. We are joined today by a very special guest. We had to reach pretty deep in our bag to get this one. This is a world-renowned super fan known by all. And this is my dad, the judge, Robert Durham. We had to pay him a lot of money to come on today, so we are excited to have him.
Well, you guys met my NIL deal, so I appreciate that.
He's on
Taco Bell, so.
Yeah, he's on today to talk about NIL deals and how they're destroying college football.
Absolutely.
So that's if you talk to him about college football, that is usually his first talking point is NIL ruining the sport. But we'll probably talk about that a little bit here. Huge Tennessee fan, known to, I think Tens talked about last week about how he was had a tendency to throw some things around the house. Potentially, this is alleged.
It was a teaser.
Yeah, totally overrated. Totally out of. I mean, that's fake news, right?
Fake news. Has a tendency that I have inherited of getting yelling at TV screens often, especially in the last couple of many actually years of Tennessee football.
Many years.
Been through it all. That's kind of why we wanted to interview. If we thought we'd start you here at the source, so we're gonna get a little bit of background on your fandom. If you can, when did you first become a Tennessee fan? How did that start? Where did that come from? Obviously, you're from Tennessee, but you can tell us about that, I guess.
Yeah, I never known a time when I wasn't a Tennessee fan. Started with my grandfather and my dad and my uncles, and we would go over to my grandpa's house on Saturdays and watch UT play if they were on. We listened to them on the radio with John Ward as the announcer, which again, very sad that we don't have John Ward announcing football or basketball anymore. He was the man. So I can't remember a time when I wasn't a UT fan. I remember, even, doing play-by-play with, Ernie Grunfeld and Bernard King when they were playing basketball, just practicing my play-by-play with them basketball. Remember 1980, I was listening to them play. Of course, we had listened to them on the radio way more than we watched them on TV because you didn't have ESPN or SEC Network or all those. And so it was rare when you got to see a TV game with UT playing. So it was mostly radio is the way we followed our sports. But remember, my first real memory of listening is when I was listening to UT playing their season opener, and they were playing Georgia, and this dude just kept running all over Tennessee and didn't know what was going on. Who's this person? And it was Herschel Walker. And so I remember the first play. I'm listening to the very first college game that Herschel Walker played, and unfortunately it was against UT. And they killed us and continued to kill us for the next several years. Yeah. So always a UT fan. Never known a time when I wasn't.
Sure. And obviously you've been through some good times and some rough times as of late. Seasons of plenty and seasons of not as much plenty.
A lot. So,
recently,
a lot of not. Absolutely.
So let's run through real quickly. Do a quick history of. Let's do Derek, like up to Philip Fulmer, the coaches that you watched coach throughout the years. So it started off with.
Well, I mean, Tennessee was kind of blessed with. I mean, we had pretty longevity in our coaches when I was starting. So Johnny Majors was the first coach that I remember coaching UT football, and he coached for right up until Phil Fulmer took over.
Yeah.
So Johnny Majors was the guy for me for most of my childhood. Whenever I'm talking about UT football and talking about kids' memories, it was Johnny Majors coaching them. So yeah, I mean, I remember when I went to law school at UT, we got to go to the games every week, so that was fun. Johnny Majors was coaching at that point, and I had some big games in. One of my best memories of going is when we were playing Florida, and we were sitting in the student section, and Emmitt Smith was playing for them.
Wow!
And of course, they were big time favorites against UT, even though we were playing home. And it just started pouring rain, and we trashed them, man. And the crowd was just going nuts. Nobody cared that they were soaking wet. It was awesome, man. That was my funnest experience going to a game when I was actually at school there. But was there when they beat Miami in '85 when Miami was in the Orange Bowl, and Miami was supposed to be the national champion, and they were fussing about how they didn't get in the championship game.
Bummer.
And everybody was just writing UT off, and nobody, everybody's Miami was going to beat them, and we killed them. And that was really the time I think that Tennessee really started, at least for me, getting back into the national spotlight. Was when they beat Miami in the Orange Bowl. That's when it started becoming really nationally relevant, I think.
In '85.
Yeah, I mean that was for me. That was when it started looking big time. We started ramping it up and playing, getting back to where we were supposed to be.
Playing big games.
As far as national picture goes, yeah.
It is interesting that you say it like that, because I feel like the common narrative nowadays is like, man, back in the day, Tennessee were the guys, and now we're like the fact that it roller coastered in the '80s too, where it was like they were down for a while and they come back up, and then I don't know, people I think some people, I feel like most teams have that cyclical nature of they have cycles of being really good and then not being as good for a while. Did that
Yeah, I
happened
mean,
even?
yeah, I mean, even back in the 70s and 80s, and and it was always that case. I mean, I think, like you said, I mean, as far like with Alabama, I mean, we've always had a rivalry with Alabama, but I mean, you wouldn't know it over the
Nowadays,
last 20 years. But I mean, we went for a 10-year run where we beat Alabama every year, and so we had these streaks, these long streaks where we would beat Alabama and then Alabama would beat us. And then unfortunately, this streak's gone on, a lot longer than usual, but we did beat Alabama a couple years ago. So
that was a big one.
yeah.
Yeah, Tennessee's back. That's what I heard. I think Tennessee fans have a pretty big track record of overreacting to things, and famously in the national, that's all of us. I think of being like overreacting to one loss or whatever. But I do think it is interesting how they do go. I mean, we obviously won the national championship, and we'll talk about that here in a second. In that run. We still look to that as the crowning achievement we still talk about it like it was, the pinnacle of our.
Yeah, you still see people with license plates, national champion from 1998.
I know it gets sadder every year that passes.
Yeah, no, it really does.
25 years ago, huh?
Yeah, we're still.
It's tough. Okay, well, we'll get into a couple questions here. We talked about. I've heard you tell the story about that Florida game and how the water is just gushing like through the into the concourse and stuff. That's awesome. That's fun. What about if you had to pick one all-time favorite Vol player of all time? Like one player that sticks out in your brain of being like the Tennessee football. I know there's a couple of options out. You could throw out a couple if you want to, but.
Well, I mean, obviously, Peyton Manning continues to be the most famous Vol ever. I mean, something I saw the other day, and it was, I don't know, maybe a year ago, his Tennessee jersey remains the top selling jersey for UT.
Wow, I believe that.
To this day.
Oh, like even now.
Yeah, to this
like
day.
In 2023, that was
in
the
20.
Most
yeah, Manning's jersey is still the top seller.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy. And of course, we were, all big Peyton Manning fans. And I think the thing that really sold it for folks is when he came back his senior year, and played for UT when he could have went pro, could have been a first round draft pick, but he chose to come back to UT. And I think that kind of sealed his legend for Tennessee fans, that he showed that kind of loyalty, and he continues to show that kind of loyalty.
And then he came back and he won the Heisman the next year. And
I don't even want to talk about that, man. That was robbery, pure and simple. That was an ESPN conspiracy. I'm telling you, man.
I wanted to get him on this. That's why I said that.
Laugh how you want, but Charles Woodson should never have won that. ESPN wanted a Big Ten player to win it, and they influenced it. And every year they were talking up Woodson. And so they stole that from Peyton Manning. Totally believe that. We'll continue to believe that.
ESPN. You'll talk to all Tennessee fans, and all Tennessee fans will tell you that was robbery.
It was flat out robbery.
Yeah, and then we still remain Heismanless.
Yeah, still don't have a Heisman Trophy winner. Johnny Majors was a runner-up. Peyton Manning was runner-up, but still don't have that guy.
Hooker should have been a runner-up.
Hendon Hooker.
If he got injured, he would have
not even make the top 5. I mean, again, it shows the UT bias, man. It's out there. They do not like Tennessee. I don't know why. How else can you justify Hendon Hooker not even being in the top 5, not even going to New York City?
I know that's really a bummer. I mean, even if we lose that game, if he plays, he's in for sure. At least he goes to New York. So I do hate that for him because he did have a Heisman caliber year, I think. So
yes, he did.
That is a bummer. I think there are a couple other players. I know that Reggie White, obviously.
Reggie White was a beast, man. Loved watching him play, and he did really good. Obviously, he continued to have a great NFL career, Minister of Defense. Al Wilson was I loved watching him play as a linebacker, man. He would tear people's heads off. And we had a streak of great running backs, especially back in the early 90s. I mean, just they were all going pro there for a while. Wide receiver we were known for some top-notch wide receivers. Again, back in the 80s and back in the 90s. So, yeah, we've had a lot of good players, just nobody who's just been, other than Manning, who's just really, like I said, I have very few that's had a shot at the Heisman. And I think that speaks more to, just not being able to be in the national picture so much. We had some great individual players. But
Sure. I have seen some early, I think Nico's gonna debut in the top 10 or 15 Heisman potentialists for next year. I'm not speaking out of existence, but I am saying I've seen that number thrown around some. So
I'm telling you, I'm still not totally sold on Nico.
Oh yeah?
No, I'm not totally sold on him yet.
He looks like a wide receiver.
Well, he's so skinny,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really afraid he's going to get hurt early on, because unless he starts putting on some weight, I'm afraid somebody's going to break him in half.
Especially with how much he was running the last game.
And that was the thing, yeah. And I don't think I hope he gets more experience, and I hope they had told him to do that. If you don't have it, pull it down and run.
Yeah.
But he was doing a lot of one read and then he was gone, man. He was heading out, and so a lot of happy feet. So I'm hoping he gets some of that stuff settled down for this year. He's got an arm and he can run like crazy, but
it'll be fun to watch.
I'm not picking him for the Heisman just yet, though. We'll see.
Okay, I hear you. I think tempering expectations there is probably for the best. I think all of Tennessee football should consider doing that as well, or else the first interception he throws is going to be like,
right? Everybody's going to be
who's next?
That's right. $8 million man needs to sit down.
Yeah, cut him from the team. Get him out of here. Which, I mean, who's to say? Okay, what about we talked about favorite game or favorite moment. What about most heartbreaking moment as a Vol fan? Boy, there's a list. Laundry list. I got one.
But it's the wide rights with Florida, man. I mean, back for me, it's some big ones, the early 90s. Florida was our big rivalry, man. And there were not one, but there were two games where we was last second field goal missing. And of course, Florida has done that to us how many times? I mean, I know you went to a game.
I did.
Where it's fourth and, whatever, and they throw it and scrambling, running, and finally score a touchdown. So, yeah.
That's mine. Mine
that's
for sure
awful,
is that
man. But
2016
that's Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, that's Florida, man. They've done that to us, for decades now.
Hey, Robert, how about last season against Alabama?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think I hate Alabama. Don't get me wrong. I can't stand Alabama. One of my top hated teams. But Alabama's always just been kind of on that other level for so long that you kind of go in half expecting that you're going to lose to Alabama,
Which is sad, but
Which is, I mean, it's sad. It's just been that way forever now. So, again, it's hard to say who I hate more, Florida or Alabama. But
you're stepping on my survey questions. That's kind of
really?
It's okay. We could go ahead and go
I've
there.
got a long list of teams I hate. There's a long list of teams I hate.
Well, kind of how we're going to, and this doesn't have to be the end, but that is a question that we're asking is like, which team are you most happy to beat? Which is your biggest rival? And I think Tennessee is an interesting one because I think a lot of fans would answer differently depending on what generation you grew up watching them in. And I think that answer is different for people, which I think is not the case with most fan bases. I think most fan bases have a clear number one rival. I think Tennessee has two we've mentioned a couple times. So you're go with Florida.
Yeah. Well, as far as ones I like to see us beat, I mean, Alabama, I think, is the one I always want to see us beat. But as far as ones that I hate more, it's probably Florida. I probably hate Florida more than I just hate them more than Steve Spurrier. He was a jerk, when he was coaching and
bad guy.
I just hate Florida. I just can't stand them. I hope they never win another game.
I do. So he was talking about a game I went to 2016. I went to the Swamp for the Tennessee game, and Josh Dobbs was kind of pulling us along, just like putting the team on his back, and we were up the entire game. The Swamp was like underwhelming because it was so quiet the whole game, and you could hear the 10% of Tennessee fans were making all the noise. And then 4th and 14 at the very end, they convert it. They score a touchdown. They make a field goal at the very end of the game to win. It was just like heartbreaking. It was the first time they led the whole game, and was at the very end, and we walked out, and it was the most demoralizing because those fans who were just sitting quiet the whole game, all of a sudden were all feeling themselves, and it was just. And then you had to make the 10-hour drive back, and you were just mad the whole time, and you're just like, I can't believe I drove all this way to watch this stupid game. What was I thinking? Josh Dobbs put out a fun show that game.
Yeah. I'm glad that was you, not me. I would have been.
But that really cemented my Florida hatred right there for sure. Some part of me, though, also I think the Alabama hate has become reinvigorated recently too. I think some part of me, the Butch Jones going to Bama, that one made me like that one ignited something in me. I was like, there's Butch Jones smoking a cigar in the locker room after the Bama game. That one hurt deep. I did not enjoy that picture in my Twitter timeline over and over again.
No, Butch Jones. Oh my gosh. Can we just forget about those dark ages? I just want to move on. I mean, oh man, that was some sad times we had. I mean, those were some awful times.
Yeah, we can wrap up there at the end where we have had some tough times recently. You look through, like you mentioned, you had Johnny Majors and Philip Fulmer. That accounted for what, like 30 years of Tennessee football ish.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
I mean, and then all of a sudden, as soon as he leaves, you get, it starts like you get Derek Dooley, and you get Lane Kiffin, and you get Butch Jones rolling in brick by brick, and then you get Jeremy Pruitt, and it's just
every one of those guys started out okay, and so you just enough to start getting your hopes up a little bit. Hey, maybe we're in the right direction. Maybe things are moving.
Yeah.
And then the wheels fell off after 2 or 3 years, and it just kept getting lower and lower and lower.
Or you left for USC.
Oh my gosh, that was. Yeah.
You do wonder if Lane Kiffin. I think that's the most interesting alternate reality is if Lane Kiffin had stuck around UT, what would we look like? I think that's an interesting thing. I don't know if Lane Kiffin's built to stay, but
yeah, I don't know if he is either. I keep expecting him to go on to somewhere else, but
he's been at Ole Miss for a while now.
He has been.
He's got a good team, like a top 5 preseason team there. So it is interesting because I think there is, I don't know, a lot of bad coaches in and out. So let's end here. Let's look ahead to the 2024 football season. Sorry, I'm clearing my throat. We have Josh Heupel in now his 3rd year, a couple of positive seasons.
Right.
What are your expectations? How do you feel about the Heupel era? What are you thinking there?
How do you know when you're going to come in with a new team every year? I mean, it's very difficult to know what your team's going to look like, and the mass exodus that UT had. I mean, my goodness, the people they lost after Heupel came, and we had a big exodus before he came, but this year we lost a ton of people. We lost a ton of players.
We did.
And we're having to bring them back. I mean, we're having to go and just restock. And, of course, you can do that in this era. I mean, you can get experienced people to come play for you. But everybody is competing for all these players. And, I mean, I feel good about Nico. Like I said, I'm not sure I'm ready to give him the Heisman yet. I think the running game is going to be solid. Most of our offensive line came back. Yeah, and so I'm very happy about that. The defensive line, should be solid. Still have to rebuild the secondary. I mean, we have to entirely rebuild the secondary.
Well, secondary
yeah. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's going to be almost all new players out there this year.
Maybe for the better.
Last year.
Yeah,
and maybe for the better because the secondary was the weak link last year.
Always the last couple of years. It's been.
It has been. So maybe this will work out better. But again, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, and I think that's gonna tell the tale is how we improve the secondary.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the big question.
I do think
but I'm excited. I'm always excited.
Yeah.
You know,
it always a new season, something about it.
That's right.
You're 0-0. You had a chance, especially with the expanded playoffs. You could lose 2 games and still make a playoff spot.
Yeah, you could be totally mediocre and make the playoffs.
Let everybody in.
You can in every other sport these days. Why not? Let's just water the whole place.
Oh my!
What
other sport?
I love it.
He loves it.
Yeah, you will love it when UT finally gets into the playoffs and has a chance. You won't be so mad then. We know you're a big.
They should get in the playoffs when they deserve to be in the playoffs.
They will, because they'll be a top 12 team.
Oh my gosh!
It'll be a much different season.
That's crazy. Sure. I can't even believe that 12 teams are going to be in the playoffs.
I know.
Anyway, we'll see. Again, we'll see how it all plays out.
He's going to
play the regular
make a
season?
run.
What's the regular season for? I don't even know.
Well, here's what I think it's for. Because and we could end here. I know but I think what we've seen now is with these 2 mega conferences coming, going undefeated is, I think, going to become extraordinarily difficult. Now that you have all these teams coming in, and it's not just like you have 1 or 2 tough games on their schedule. Most of the good teams are having 3 or 4 big teams on their schedule every year. I mean, Tennessee's always had this. Tennessee's always had to play Georgia, Bama, and Florida every season. So we've never snuck under the radar. But teams like Iowa or teams like Michigan and Ohio State, they can scoot by with having 1 big game on their schedule. And then that's it. They win 1 game and they're in the championship. And so I think it's gonna level the playing field across all conferences to say, we know you're playing tough schedules now. You can lose 1 and you're still going to make it. It's not the 1 game is not going to kick you all the way out. So I know it is watering it down a little bit, but I think it's going to make for some more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's I know it's one of my get off my lawn moments here, but that's one of the awesome. It's one of the great things about college football for me is that every week counted. Every week's a big game.
That's true.
Every week has a matter. And that's not going to be the case so much with 12 teams in the playoff.
I agree. I agree with that. I think that's true. As a Tennessee fan, like I said, though, as you almost start the season with a couple of guaranteed losses on your schedule, maybe not now as much as before, though. I mean, unless you pulled off a couple of miracles, there's no way you're going undefeated if you have 3 of the top 5 or 6 teams in the nation on your schedule, which is I don't know if you've seen Florida's schedule for next year. It's some people are saying it's like the hardest college football schedule ever, maybe that's ever been scheduled.
Yeah,
they've got good. I like that.
They've got 8 ranked teams on their schedule the preseason. They played Miami, I think, and then they have Texas pulled in. I mean, I think they legitimately have 8 ranked teams on their schedule. So.
Poor old Billy won't make it through the year, I don't think.
Couldn't happen to a better team.
I know. They're gonna Oh, we'll see. Okay. Well, anything else? We're gonna leave you here. Anything else you got to say? You want to plug anything?
Plug anything?
Plug your Twitter account or
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody needs to just follow me all over social media, whatever social media.
Yes, good luck.
I'm there. Just get on there.
Support him. Yeah. Go follow him on none of his accounts. You can catch him at the courtrooms.
That's right. Go check me out.
All right. Well, thank you for being on. It was a great talk. Great talking about Tennessee football. Thanks for joining us on our first ever episode.
All right, inaugural episode. Awesome.
Yeah, for your number 1.
I get some swag or something anyway.
Yeah, you'll get the residuals. We'll send you a percentage.
Cool. Cut you a check.
All right, awesome.
It's in the mail. All right, see you later.
All right. See you guys.
All right, and that finishes up this episode of the Next Guy Up podcast. Thanks again, Robert, for being on with us. Thank you for everybody for listening to this episode. And we look forward to having you listen to the Messing Around Monday special. Thanks.